We should, I think, begin now. Thanks everyone to join in. Thanks Knowledgehut. Thanks Mr. Suresh and his team, Premier Agile Consulting, to join in. What I will do is I will take about 5 minutes. I was told I should be kind of introducing Sambhav Kadam, and clearly a whole lot of people in the community already know us. And it's a challenge for me to introduce Sambhav Kadam because there's just so many dimensions to it, and there is so much that I can talk about. So it is kind of not possible, but let me just rush through a quick thing in about 5 minutes, and thereafter hand over to Ms. Shruti, who is going to be our host and moderator for the day. And probably thereafter, she would be introducing the other gentlemen here present, ladies and gentlemen. And then Mr. Suresh could start the session, followed by at the end of it, the Q&A and an interactive part of it would follow, definitely. Nevertheless, if I don't know if everybody sees the screen the way I'm seeing it, there is a gentleman with a headphone with a blue shirt, which is Mr. Vinay Bathi. He's part of Knowledgehut. He's account director. There is Mr. Jasbir Chaudhary with the specs on, again with a blue shirt there. And he is, of course, leading this whole initiative along with Sambhav Kadam and Knowledgehut. And the way we're looking forward, where we can resolve a lot of veteran solutions. Down below, there is Mr. Samir with I will kind of give him, he's a black shirt and black mustache. Of course, we can see his name on the screen. So that's Mr. Samir. He deals with the higher leadership of Knowledgehut, and he's been very, very interested. So we typically got in touch with Mr. Vinay Bathi, and at Sambhav Kadam, we do interact always with the source at high level. And that led to Mr. Jasbir coming in, and that led to finding Mr. Samir, who has been very kind enough to join the session today himself. And of course, in this center with the background of bricks, the brown bricks is our speaker for the day. And he would again, I'm saying he'll again be introduced. We have Ms. Madhuri from Mr. Suresh's team. And we have Ms. Deepthi and Ms. Shruti is, of course, somewhere. She should be there, yes. Great. So that is the team that we have on the screen, and we can all see. I will quickly just share my screen and talk a little about Sambhav Kadam, and thereafter we will get on to the task of the day. So that's where we are. So this is the Sambhav Kadam logo. It is represented by 3 colors, that is red, sky blue, and the navy blue, that represent the 3 services, along with the dotted circle, which represents the larger community that we're trying to build, connected, empowered, connected community. What we are a non-profit Section 8 entity. For uninitiated, Section 8 is the most modern, most compliant, and most regulated format of what we call an NGO in general terms, right? And mission and vision of Sambhav Kadam would be large, and this may not be the forum to discuss that. Nevertheless, what we're looking at is definitely creating, identifying and channelizing the value chain of soldiering towards the benefit of the society and every subset of it. And where we started from, and we just started, although we've covered quite a bit of ground, but we just started making solutions for the military veteran community itself, and the rest would follow. This is what our ecosystem would look like, which is already getting into place. So there are all subsets of industry, civil society, CSR attention, as well as government and advocacy. And within the internal circle is where you see we are at the moment now and creating very fast solutions for the military veteran community. This is where we started from, and we, in the context of today, we're talking about military veteran transition. And why military veteran transition? So we're neither a HR agency, nor a recruitment agency, nor a skilling agency, right? But military veteran transition is a standing need of the community. It's a very strong need. And clearly there are nil solutions available, and definitely nothing that is customized to a military veteran. The last, and that we all know of, was created 17 years back in form of Armed Forces program at premier institutions, IIMs, etc. And the world has changed in 17 years, and I don't think there is anything in the market available which could even touch upon what the world is, where the veteran position lies, and what should be the skilling. So this is where we started from last year when we got incorporated. We have a journey before that of about 10 years, and definitely last 3-4 years where in formal form, we were delivering already initiatives. So we started right at the source. We advised and created the logic and the solution for a veteran transition program at one of the topmost global MNC. One would say Fortune 10 company, right? Last year, and they had a flaw in the logic. We could advise them, get the logic sorted, And it was a very successful program, which is growing now and growing at more than 100%. This is where we started 15th August last year. We created another very unique program called Next Frontier, where we had the CEOs, the founders, the business heads, and all n number of CEOs being called from outside and industry specialists being called from outside. The program ran for 4 months. It was a very, very successful program. With each program, we are also very fast learning lessons, and we realized there is a gap in the functional learning, which would be essential, around which then we can create the castles, right? So with our research, the past knowledge, and this journey last year, we created something which is, we're very proud to create this. This is the unique and only program in the country which is purely customized for a soldier's need. And definitely it works in every which way, catering for every nuance of a soldier, and definitely decimates the costs, the wastage of time, and brings maximum value simultaneously. We've also delivered programs in technology and software programming roles, where we've taken our participants through, and clearly all of us may be aware that we do not do coding and programming hands-on in the service, and we may lose touch. So this was done and then integrated with another corporate program. We have our own in-house. So the other programs that we do with the corporates are their programs, and we are in consulting advisory. But we also own certain programs of ours with some MNCs, where the partnership or the ownership is completely with us, and we design it, and this is going beautifully. And we hope that in years to come, we will be able to create new benchmarks on veteran transition. We also have, for our military veterans, short service commission officers, we have a new vision now about a year program, which is going to be 6 to 12 months, completely customized as per needs, and with very fantastic possibilities ahead. What we will need is the participants to come in and join. In the pretext of all these programs that we do on the military, and we are only talking about military veteran transition vertical, we're not talking about other subsets of Sambhav Kadam right now. And the pretext of getting people into our programs, which are completely online and digital and in tune with the latest that's happening in the world today. We also integrate a lot of solutions on this pretext, which come at a veteran value. And nearly and largely, and Sambhav Kadam team would know, and Mr. Samir and Mr. Vinay, that how much, what is the kind of struggle we've been through to, get this price point for our veterans. So we definitely do that. We, scrape the bottoms and then create a lot of other solutions. As I said, on the pretext of learning, we create a lot of value and a lot of solutions. This is another program. A very distinguished lady from Tata Trust, Tata HR, and Tata Sons, 35 years. She takes a beautiful program at our MILVEST. This is nearly free of cost for the people of MILVEST. We also are able to get to the sources directly and connect and deliver the veteran value and get a lot of exchange. So this is another beautiful picture where LinkedIn India, 34 of the senior most leaders came in for our veterans one-to-one mentoring in breakout rooms. And we can see the LinkedIn India head also, who shared that he also belongs to the veteran community. His brother is a Commodore. And LinkedIn is a regular feature with us. We also have another very innovative proposition for learning, and that's we harp constantly on learning, because learning is where the rest of the value lies with the veteran already. It just needs to be curated. Functional learning is important. We've got a new proposition called MILVEST, which can be continued learning in immense ways. And we probably believe that everything that veteran requires is already available here. We, of course, do certification now, and in that context is where we are with Knowledgehut, but we also do, there's a demand from the community, Lean Six Sigma. We decimated the prices, got the best, and this is already rolling on to the next batch too. We have, of course, Knowledgehut here today, and we will be talking about this. This is the program which will be done along with Knowledgehut and our current speaker today, which will start on 30th August. And we are here at the round table today, which is another fantastic thing, because we see that, in the current confusion where a veteran comes out with very limited awareness, where is he headed for, etc., and limited knowledge of the job market, given that we are not online, not on digital, and we remain in our own worlds, and that's necessitated because of some valid reasons too. But then, how do you, industry is equally confused. We work with the industry and we see a tremendous amount of confusion over there in the veteran program. That's where, again, we are able to deliver value to them. But then in this rush, there is absolute rush for some of the certifications. There is rush for Lean Six Sigma, there is rush for Agile. And we realize that there are people who do these programs, and after that, they ask us, where will it be applied to me? Or people who pay for these programs then ask how would it apply to me? And then clearly at military, we come from every subset of a functional organization, every arm, every function is incorporated in military. Does it apply? Whom does it apply? Which age group, which category, which industry are you headed for? What is the program to start with? Sometimes we also find, not enough awareness even on that part. And so we felt that it was great that we have Knowledgehut as a partner. And Mr. Suresh Konduru, who's agreed to take this session, he's of course a very, very accomplished leader in his own right on Agile. And aim of this program is to bring awareness. This was our demand with Knowledgehut, and we're very happy that they kindly consented, and we are here at the program right now. Of course, this is another program that we very, so while this is not our veteran transition, but it has applicability to veteran transition, where we do run programs for our military widows. And why are we showing it here? Because they are directly plugged into MILVEST, which is a transition journey and enablement. What we have on offer for the people here, I'm sure most of us are already aware of this. Nevertheless, we have MILVEST, we have MILVEST in Tech, we have ClubVest, we have military women empowerment, we have corporate mentorship, and we have Mission 2022 for SS officers, short service officers, who would have probably typically 6 to 12 months, and we could take them to dense learning. And then we have these certification programs. And our upcoming programs, as you can see, MILVEST is starting tomorrow, and in another 15 days, we'll be creating the batch. Those who want to join, most welcome. ClubVest is continuous. MILVEST in Tech, we finished 2 batches with the corporates, and third would be announced very soon. Women Empowerment Program, the second batch has already been curated. Corporate Mentorship is, again, would be announced very soon. Mission 2022, we are just waiting for you. Come in and we've started. A couple of guys have already joined in. Scrum Certification Program, where we are right now on the roundtable today. The certification program will start on 30th, and we nearly have a batch plus, but we could take a few more in case somebody wanted to join at the last minute. Maybe 2, 3, 4 of them more. Lean Six Sigma will be starting by 11th of September, and we're already creating a batch for Lean Six Sigma Black Belt, since there's been a demand, and a PMP in October. I just, how much of time have I taken, please? I'm so sorry, I'm running out of short, but I just want to...
14 minutes, Captain.
Okay, I'm so sorry, just a minute more. So this is something that I wanted to talk about, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen this. We are looking for 30 officers with basics on Java and Python to be presented to a veteran program in another 2 days. If any of you know, and I'm sure there is every kind of veteran, including all supermen existing in the community, please let our message reach out to them, and we would be happy to get them curated as campus placement at Sambhav Kadam itself on 28th. And of course, we will be undertaking after a year of a journey, we will be taking a very innovative research all over again. What is required for a absolutely fitting veteran program? This research will start in September with leading specialists and consultants in the industry. We would be requiring 8 plus 8 plus 8, that is 8 officers who are currently transitioning, 8 officers who have kind of transitioned about a year before, and 8 officers who have about a year to go. And we will be looking at your assistance, and we'll reach out on communications with you people on this. And so with this, and I'm so sorry, I've taken kind of about 10 to 15 minutes. I told you I cannot stop talking about Sambhav Kadam when I start. And this is the fastest I've ever done. So thank you so much, Ms. Shruti. Now over to you. You are the host and the MC for the day, and you could kindly take the moment forward.
Great. Thank you very much, Captain Vinay. I think we could also go over and over listening to you. I'm hoping all of you can hear me because I've had major internet issues. But yes, I'm hoping it's all clear now. So I'm going to quickly, in the interest of time, I'm going to quickly talk a bit about Knowledgehut, representing my colleagues who are already here, Jasbir, Samir, Vinay, and the rest of the team. We're all representing Knowledgehut, and I'd like to do a quick introduction, followed by an introduction to the profile that I have of Mr. Suresh Konduru. It gives me immense pleasure to do this. A quick note about Knowledgehut. Knowledgehut is a global edtech company equipping the world's workforce with the skills of future via outcome-based immerse learning. A trusted skills transformation partner to over 500 organizations across 70 different countries, Knowledgehut is the skills solution partner that organizations and individuals count on to innovate faster and create progress. And as we speak, the numbers are increasing with each day. Our mission is to empower technologists and other professionals with high quality hands-on learning opportunities at scale nurture talent for the future of work, and help close the skills gap. A state-of-the-art immersive learning experience platform is fundamentally disrupting the software development, IT service management, cybersecurity, cloud computing, machine learning, AI, or data science. Knowledgehut has been the skills transformation partner of choice for many people out there. So happy to introduce and happy to represent Knowledgehut today. Can I go ahead and introduce Mr. Suresh Konduru to take over for the rest of the event?
Sure.
Perfect. So Mr. Suresh, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to introduce you for today's event. Suresh Konduru has more than 23 years of hands-on experience in the industry, extensively in transformation, change management, program management, project management, product management, agile coaching, and Scrum training for global Fortune 500 customers. His specializations on agile transformation, coaching, and training is especially beyond IT industries such as hardware, marketing, banking, police, manufacturing, and so on. I think these are very few words that can talk about an introduction to his profile. We're hoping to know you a lot more, Mr. Suresh. And like I said, it gives me immense pleasure. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to introduce you. Over to you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Shruti, for the introduction. And thank you so much, Captain Vinay, sir, for that. That was really good information, because we are aware of probably a little bit, and this brings a lot of awareness, especially to me. Thank you everyone for joining this session. I know it's a weekday and an evening, so it's a little stressful already for all of you, but we'll try to keep it light, and still we will try to make it interactive. So that's the whole plan. But generally, I do conduct a lot of sessions and trainings, and my training specialty, one of the specialties I would say, is 0 PowerPoint sessions. So unfortunately, today the time is very, very less. So I have to present some slides so that we can grasp some information in the given time. So that's the whole idea. And whoever is joining the class next week, you will experience a totally different experience than this webinar, because this is really short and we are trying to discuss a lot of information here, right? So with that little background about the slides especially, so I'm going to share my screen, and this is how it looks like. Hopefully you're able to see the slides. Yep. Okay. Now, as per the questions, you can ask questions at any time. And if you want to wait for a logical, moment, that's also okay. I'll leave it to you. And I will be trying to watch the questions sometimes. Maybe Shruti, you can help me sometimes with the questions. We can do a little team effort there, so that I should be able to answer eventually all the questions as much as possible. Okay. So the overall agenda is like this, and I'm assuming we'll go beyond the 60 minutes as per the plan initially. We'll go beyond that, maybe about 10 minutes or so. That's what my assumption is. And we are going to talk about briefly about what is a traditional way of working and what is an agile way of working, and so on and so forth. Okay. And I have a few things to share about how can we transition to altogether a new environment, wherein we are not accustomed to this, but I don't think I'll be able to teach you anything, because you are the best. So you already live many of these things, which we try to learn through trainings and coaching and transformation and things like that. So all of you are already living these things for a long, long time. So I don't think I'll be able to really teach you a lot about these elements, but we'll get there eventually and then mention some of the things. Okay. So this is our overall plan. And here we are to understand a little bit about Agile and Scrum, and see if we can compare that with a traditional way of working. So this is the crux of the content. It took us some time to get here, but I have a couple of slides to talk about. Maybe it takes about 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so, and then I will pause, see any questions, and then we will move forward. Okay. Okay, so for a long, long time, we are part of several corporates. We have witnessed several corporates doing a lot of product development, project management, so on and so forth. a very, very popular Kodak story. I'm sure some of you at least have heard about it. Kodak was the leader in photography, and one of their electrical engineers said that, hey, management, I have something very, very new innovation, disruptive innovation called the digital camera. And their management said, sorry, please don't tell anyone about this. Let us not even reveal this, because we are really going on a great business plan. And it's like Kodak's plan is like those razor and blade business plan. You sell a razor for a very, very low cost, and then you have customers come back for a very, very highly priced blades. So that was their plan. And then they were not really ready for a change that one of their engineers has suggested. And the rest is history. You know what happened, right? After that, other companies started making cameras in the digital world. And finally, Kodak has caught up on that, but it is too late. And it collapsed as an organization. And another very, very famous example, Nokia, making several products, leader in the segment, but again lacked because they were not ready for a change. While the whole world is embracing change, Nokia was not ready for it. Their acquisitions were not at the right time. Their strategy was not right. Some of the investments they made were not in the right direction. So eventually, Nokia has collapsed. Oh, this is a surprise to see the Apple there. I know we are not so convinced about it, but I'm not talking about Apple as an organization, but I'm talking about one product from Apple called Newton. I'm not sure if anyone has heard about it. This product was released by Apple in around 1998. And Apple took a long time to make such a product. And this was especially when Steve Jobs, I'm sure a lot of us have heard the name. Steve Jobs was not there in the organization. Apple has gathered several requirements from their users, bundled everything, packaged everything, and made a great product called Newton. It's a personal digital assistant wherein you can track your numbers and contacts, and you can save some information. But you know what? It failed. While other organizations made similar products and they were largely successful, Apple was not able to really capitalize on its Newton as a product. The reason is they waited too long to launch it. They were like, oh, we want to give a best perfect product to the world. And then finally it collapsed. That's when Steve Jobs was back into Apple. And then one of the first decisions he took was time out for such a product. We are not going to sell this product anymore. So that was a key decision taken. And of course, Apple has been largely successful after that, their iPods and phones and so on and so forth. So what are we talking about here? We are talking about several organizations, largely successful in the past, have been leaders, but then really not able to embrace a change. And these are pretty famous, popular stories. A lot of us at least would have heard about. And it's not just the corporate industry, it's also about government and a lot of other small organizations, small, medium enterprises. A lot of organizations have faced this. Now, what's the problem? The problem is we are waiting for too long. We are trying to give a perfect launch for a perfect product, which probably the customer doesn't have so much of patience to wait. Now, this is where organizations started failing. Now, failure, when we talk about failure, what is actually success? Whenever you develop any product, whenever you launch any project, and I'm not talking about only about a consumer electronics or a software industry, or I'm talking about in general, any domain. You define success as when customers are happy, when your budget is within control, when your product works as per the design that it was made, right? So these are some of the success factors defined. And there was a survey that was made. This survey is made every 2 years by a Standish organization. So this was the survey results in 2020. The next similar survey is going to happen next year. So they realized that a lot of projects were actually failing. Oh, only 14% were successful with that success criteria. And several others have failed or being challenged in terms of their relevance and timelines and so on and so forth. That's indeed a pretty bad number, isn't it? So we needed some new way of working rather than making upfront plans and collecting a lot of talking to users, gathering a lot of requirements, and then making superb schedules and budgets, and then coming up with a real product which takes about a year or 2 years or 3 years, by then it is not really relevant to the market. And that's where we needed a new way of working. Sorry. A new way of working is what we're talking as, let's see if this works. A new way of working is what we are calling as an agile way of working. Now, what is an agile way of working? So let's look at that. So I'm going to take a few minutes to stop my screen here, and I'm going to share the screen again. But I'm going to get to a new screen here. Hopefully you'll be able to see that in a moment. Okay, so I'm sharing a different screen here that is written as traditional agile. And I'm going to draw something here. So traditionally, whenever people were developing any products or executing any projects, be it a construction project or a manufacturing a software or a car or an aeroplane or anything for that matter, they had huge plans. And those plans are gathering the perfect requirements. It takes about several months to several years at times. And then people do something called as design. You design the product, draw several diagrams, share it with people, get their feedback, high level design, low level design, detailed design, a lot of stuff. And then the teams actually build it. Build the product, test it, and then there are several forms and environments to test it. Finally, you give it to the consumer or deploy it. So this is a whole big cycle, and you move from one stage to another only after the previous stage is approved. It's also called as a gating process. You get funding approvals and you get sign-offs. Oh, go ahead, let us go to the next stage. But by the time it's moving from one stage to the last stage, any idea how much time it takes? Nearly, on an average, I'm giving you an average here, a year. On an average. I started working with this company called Infosys about 23 years back. And I had a friend in IBM. And one day I met him and he said, hey, you know what? We are giving the work to the consumer next week, meaning we are releasing our work to the consumers next week. I said, wow, great. And after 5 years, oh, really? So they were working for 5 years and never shown their work to the consumer. And I thought, this is excellent. Your guys, your jobs are so secured for the last 5 years. This is wow factor for me. That was the case at some point in time. And it was not really working for, every organization, every product, because by the time it is reaching the consumers, they're moving on. They have better preferences, more preferences, some change is needed in the market. So this is a big failure, especially in today's world. Maybe it worked for some time, but then we got to be relevant to the change today. And that's where there is a new way of working which is emerging. And that's what we are calling as an agile way of working. Now, what is that? Instead of working in a big bang fashion like this and waiting all the way for about a year or two to deliver the work, the team works in small iterations. You take a small cycle, you collect requirements, you do design, you do build, you do whatever communication, coordination that is needed, and then show it to the consumer. Dear consumer, is this good for you? Oh, give us feedback. Oh, let us collaborate. What do you need better? What works better for you? Great. I'll take the feedback and I'll go to a new cycle. So 1 second, me. I have to reshare the screen. Sometimes too much of a time on the chart, it doesn't update. I know there are some hands up, so maybe there may be some questions, but just give me a few more minutes and then we'll take your questions. Sure. So there is a feedback in the middle, and then you go to a new cycle, and then again you ask for feedback. After that, so in this case, the feedback is enabled at very, very short intervals. Oh, we can't wait for a year. We can't wait for 6 months. Oh, okay, let us do this in 2 weeks. Of course, we cannot complete everything in 2 weeks. So what should we do? Oh, this is where you prioritize the work. And then you start showcasing in small intervals. At small intervals, the team meets together, showcases the work to the customer, goes on and on like this. Customer was pretty happy. Number one reason is they're getting to know what is happening. The end users, right? The sponsors, people who put the money in there, are really happy with this approach because there is a lot of transparency, a lot of collaboration. And at some point in time, rather than doing this for about a year, at some point in time, they realize that, okay, now this is where I'm very happy with whatever is there. So let us give it to our end users. Let us deploy right now. Because 80-20 rule, right? 80% of the value is provided by 20% of the product or the features. If you look at the product usage today, as per a survey, it states that about 20% of the features are very widely used by people like you and me. And about 25% of the features are not even used. About 20-25% of the features are rarely used. So 20 plus 25 plus 50 is actually not used. So nearly 50 is not used. Again, this is as per a survey made. So people thought, why wait till the end? Why not we roll it out right away? It can be a software. It can be a big construction, whatever that we are talking about, where it can be applied. We are going to see what are the various industries this can be applied very soon. And with this approach, the client or the customer felt that the last few cycles, I don't even need them. Why? I attained the value that I wanted to give it to my end users already. I have made these several launch or several deployment cycles at several parts, several times. These are what we are calling as release, the release schedules for that product. And that is why you see a product being launched, a lot of patches coming in, a lot of enhancements coming in. And then at some point in time, they trip off the tail and then they go move to a new product. Now, Agile doesn't really tell you that this is how we should work. Agile is more of a thinking, more of a flexibility in terms of accepting those changes. But in summary, in brief, this is what we are calling as an Agile way of working, where it helps us to deliver those product in short cycles of time. Okay, so let me pause and see if there are questions. I know there is one question, Q&A. There is an option for Q&A here. Wow. Can it be used in other industries? Absolutely, yes, Mr. Abhay. It can be used in several other industries. And I'm also going to give you some case studies in terms of the usage of Agile and Scrum in other industries very soon. Okay.
I also see a few questions in the chat box. Mr. Suresh, would you like for me to read them out to you?
Sure. I will go through some of them.
Sure.
Okay. There are some questions about the certification. So I'm going to talk about the certification, if interested, a little later. For sure, we'll do that. And there is one question from Dolly Sharma. So in a product life cycle, how many times we should go for prototype, the customer part? So there is no specific number of times when you go for prototyping. You can go for as many times as the customer needed. So the best person to ask this question is the final consumer. So there are several ways on how you create prototypes, prototyping, proof of concept, wireframes, a simple drawing on a piece of paper. There are several ways on how you actually share your designs and ideas with the customers. And my answer would be as many times as possible when the customer, till the customer feels happy about it. Sumit Sharma ji, thank you for your question. I'm reading the question. Collaboration and mergers were happening since yesteryears. Don't you think agile methodologies were used quite long back? And you are bang on. They have been there for a long, long, long time. For example, in the manufacturing industry, the way that we're talking about, the agile way of working or a flexible way of working has been there since 1940s. And software has probably the late entries into this whole new way of working, but it's been there in other industries for a long time. Okay, so I see some questions on the chat on the certification. So if you don't mind, kindly wait and we'll get to that certification related questions very soon. Okay. And there are some on the Q&A. So I realized that there is a new tab called Q&A and you can type in your questions there. This is a good feature. Launching products too often become cost prohibitive. Mr. Ramandeep, absolutely. This is going to be cost prohibitive. It's going to be expensive for the organization. But as much as they're relevant to today's world, I think that offsets their expense in terms of launch and other development and maintenance and operational costs, because the kind of expectations from the consumers is, oh, I need more products, more services, more features. So you don't wait till the full product launch. For example, again, I'm going back to Apple. That's one example I can take. If we all remember, iPhone was launched about 2007. And then today's iPhone versus iPhone 1, there is a huge upgrade. And then at that point in time, Apple was like, I'm going to give one striking feature on my iPhone 1. What is that? The touch screen. Touch screen is the path-breaking feature for my product launch, and I'm going to work on that and nothing else. The other things were not really important at that point in time for Apple. So Apple was launching that one and gradually it added the other features. So it's like, see what is the most needed for the customer, the consumer, the users, the community. Ask them, do user surveys, do user interviews, do job shadowing, spend time with them, do a lot of research. There are several techniques on how this is done. I've just given you a few examples and how you try to understand what the customer really needs. Okay, so we'll get back to the questions again in a short while. So what we are, I'm back on my slides. So we said an agile way of working. The slide is empty. There is nothing out there on the slide right now. I'm going to put the picture that I have drawn on the slide and share these slides with all of you at a later point in time. Okay, so going back to that concept of agile. So agile said, be flexible and you got to deliver something in a sustainable manner. Ask the customer what they need, and then we will adapt accordingly. So that's what agile says. But how do you do this? Agile says, I don't know, you decide. You are the best person to do that. So this is when there are several practices that are coming up in the industry on how you can be agile. And I'm going to discuss those practices in a while. But let's look at what are some of the benefits of doing this. Faster time to market. Rather than waiting for 3 years, I launch my product in 3 months. And then the leanest possible product. And then I keep on adding features to this so that my consumers are up to date, I'm up to date, I get more return business, so on and so forth. A higher value for the customers, greater satisfaction. And then you're trying to de-risk the whole projects very, very early in the cycle. In a traditional world where we are sharing a lot of documents and then finally giving the product to work towards the end after 1 year, here we are trying to do it every maybe 2 weeks. Some people do it every month. Some teams I have seen do it every week. So you are de-risking a lot right from the beginning. Of course, there is a lot of communication, a lot of collaboration and so on and so forth. But one of the biggest aspects of being agile is you are creating customer value very early and very frequently, several times. So that same Standish survey being done every 2 years, they have also surveyed the agile teams, the agile projects as well. and they realized, we saw these numbers 14 and these ones earlier. Now Agile way of working has improved the successful rate to about 42%, 3 times better than a traditional way. But still there are a lot of challenges. Agile is not like the silver bullet that will solve all the problems in the organization or with the consumers. No, there are always certain things with any way of working, but still, if you can see, this is better 3 times than a traditional way of working. And by the way, Agile will not solve the problems. You see, Agile will only expose the problems very early in the cycle. The problems are still resolved. Problem meaning, wrong feedback, a gap in communication, or features or products not really relevant to the consumer. Some of these are exposed very early in the cycle so that the team, the organization can resolve them. See? And I was also saying, if you remember, Agile doesn't really give us any specific practices on how do you do this. Hey, do you want to do a 2-week cycle? Or do you want to do a 4-week cycle? Or do you want to do 6 weeks? Now, who is doing it? Who are the people doing it? What is the team comprising of? How often do they meet? How do they plan? And what do they document? So these are some of the practices which the team follows. But these practices are not given by the Agile as a way of working. Agile only tells us, hey, let us be flexible. Let us respond to customers. Let us work in small teams. And let us respond to whatever the consumer needs. Let us do better collaboration. But the practices are not given in Agile. And that is where you need solid practices. These solid practices are coming from something called as frameworks. I'm writing this on the chat so that it is easy for everyone. So Agile, we are saying it is a mindset, more of a way of working. But Agile doesn't give any practices. So the practices are given by the frameworks. So this is easy for you to understand. So I'm writing on the chat. A frameworks consists of a set of practices, and example of a framework to satisfy that Agile way of working is Scrum. I've sent 3 notes on the chat. Hopefully it's coming up and you could read that.
Yes, it is. Mr. Suresh, with your permission, I'd like to quickly let the participants know to type in your questions only to the Q&A box, please, and not the chat box. Thank you very much.
Sure. Great. Thank you, Shruti. So the frameworks are the ones which consist of that solid practices. Oh, how do you implement this Agile on the ground? If you ask an Agile way of working or the Agile mindset, hey, how do you do this? Agile says, I don't know, boss. You decide. Now, this is where the frameworks are helping. And there are several frameworks in the industry. And here comes on the screen an umbrella. An umbrella is where I'm representing as an Agile umbrella with that whole mindset and thinking and behavior and blah, blah, blah. But under the umbrella is where you have several smaller information there. Scrum is one of the most popular Agile frameworks in the industry today, which gives you certain solid practices on how you implement Agile. So you can't really implement Agile as it is, because Agile is only a thinking. I'll give you one more example. Maybe that's easy for all of us to understand. One of the very, very important values for all of us in human beings is respect, right? Yeah, as human beings, I want to respect my team, my family, my parents, my community members, every other citizen in the country. Yeah, I want to respect them. And I want it to be respected too. Okay, great. But how do I respect? Oh, that's the question. How do I respect? One of my friends, when I asked this question to him, he said, he lives in Delhi. He says, hey, you know what? Every day after I wake up, I touch my mom's feet. I thought, wow. My friend touches his mom's feet and he says that is his way of respecting. Great. Another friend said, hey, you know what? I respect my team members experiences and their ideas and their cultures, because we are coming from different parts of the world. Great. That is another way to respect. Somebody recently said, hey, you know what? When I talk to people, I look into their eyes. Oh, wow. That's another way to respect. Yeah, that's true. I felt later on that everyone watches the mobile and the screen for a long time because they don't have time to look into others when they talk to them. So respect is a value. How you respect is a practice. Agile is a value system. Scrum is a practices system. I hope that's one example where I can clarify it better than before. Now, Scrum consists of those practices. In this session, we are not going to, we can't really get into details of Scrum a lot because the time available is very, very short. But if somebody has a question, I'm definitely ready to answer. But let us briefly see what is Scrum for us. Scrum is a framework which has been there for a long, long time. The first time presented in 1980s. And then in a conference in 1995, and it keeps on coming up with updates. Like we get updates on our software. Scrum also comes with updates every couple of years. It's a very, very simple and lightweight framework, which is available in less than 20 pages document. And that's called Scrum Guide. So I'm going to introduce to the Scrum Guide very soon. If somebody is interested, you can read it. And the guide or the framework is purposefully incomplete. And this is a collaboration of several real practitioners about what Scrum is for them. This is not about just one person's theory or gyan, as we call it. No. This is about the collective intelligence and wisdom of several people who used Scrum before. And this is applied whenever you're developing anything complex product, like a software, hardware, or you are serving a customer, you are serving a community, an NGO, like, our NGO we are talking about here can also use Scrum. Anyone can use Scrum as long as they're dealing with something complex. Now, this is the Scrum Guide that I was talking about. In terms of the real framework is in there. It's about 13 pages, 13. Now, I request my team member, Madhuri, who is here in this, to post a link about where you can download the Scrum Guide. It is available on the internet, but just for your information, I can have a link here published so that you can keep a copy of the link and you can download the Scrum Guide and read it. It is available free of cost, everyone, to the internet. The creators of Scrum have made it open so that anyone can read it and get benefited out of it. There you go, Madhuri, thank you so much. So we downloaded the Scrum Guide and we put it at one location so that it's easy for all of us to look at it. But even if you don't copy that link, it's okay. All you need to do is just go to Google and say Scrum Guide 2020 version, you will get it. And it is there in several languages as well. So this is in brief about an introduction, but I would also like to play a short video for about a minute or two on what is Scrum. So I'm playing a video now for about 2 minutes.
Complex projects can lead to real headaches. Organizing the team, changes in scope, roles that aren't clear. But you can change that with Scrum, an agile framework. At its foundation, Scrum can be applied to any project or product development effort. Here's how it works. A product owner creates the product backlog, a prioritized wish list. During sprint planning, the team pulls a chunk from the top of that list and decides how to complete it. The team has a set time frame, the sprint, to complete their work. They meet in a daily scrum to keep the work moving forward. Along the way, the Scrum Master keeps the team focused. At the end of the sprint, the work should be potentially shippable. The team conducts a sprint review on the product and a retrospective on the process. Then, they choose the next chunk of the backlog, and the cycle repeats. With Scrum, you can ensure the most valuable work has been completed by the time the project ends. Tackle your projects with Scrum.
Okay, so that's 2 minutes. What we do in CSM workshop in 2 days. Yeah, I know you are saying this is not fair. It's not fair to cover Scrum in 2 minutes because it needs some amount of discussion. But that's at a very, very high level, some jargon there. For people who don't understand, absolutely no problem. Because you can also read the Scrum guide and come back with any other questions or anytime you'll need some help. I'm always there to help. And not just about the certification, but in general. Okay, so what we did so far in the last 20-25 minutes or so is we introduced Agile, we introduced Scrum. And Scrum is a way to be Agile, to become Agile. Let us check what are the various industries and roles that are available, for us to probably think about and make a plan and transition eventually. Right? So the industries that adopt an Agile way of working or a Scrum framework, you find that in, say, aerospace, making airplanes, not just software, but also a lot of hardware stuff. You see that in banking, again, not banking software. I'm talking about core banking operations on the floor. A lot of banks use this. Construction industries, the armed forces. I don't need to tell you about this. Though you probably haven't heard the name, it's there inbuilt and it's been there in use for a long, 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 long time. So that's what I was saying in the beginning. I'm not here to teach you what is Agile, what is being Agile means, because this is ingrained already deep within all the armed forces. A lot of government projects use Scrum, a lot of hardware development, healthcare industry. Some people use Scrum at home and they found it very, very useful. And I'm going to share some case studies as well. Scrum in human resources, Scrum by lawyers. Let's see what's happening. Not moving. Just give me a minute, please. Okay, trying to share the screen again. And in manufacturing, I even have one more video. We can't play that today without no time, but there is a video which is about 10 minutes on how a case study about how manufacturing industry uses Agile and Scrum. Marketing, sales, schools, school administration, the way classes are delivered, they use this. Software is a given. Any complex domain which is about the requirements and the solution are not very clear today, they use Scrum because iteratively and incrementally they come up with a solution. The designs and the overall product is eventually being developed. So some of the industries I have given here, you can apply anywhere as long as the industry or the domain is complex. I would like to also go over some of the industry roles today in an Agile or a Scrum world. I thought this could be useful for you, especially when you're thinking to learn something and transition. One of the spaces is transformation of the organization from a traditional way of working to a Scrum way of working. You needed people like the Scrum Master, the Agile coach, there are some Agile project management. So you needed people there. There's lots and lots of demand out there. And another area within the organization is the business teams, the product teams who are responsible to develop products and launch them to the final end users. They work with technical teams and then they develop, then they deliver finally. In that space, we have somebody called as a product owner or a business analyst, product manager, senior product managers, product directors, so on and so forth. And then there is always this engineering team, the technical team that we are talking about. I saw, our organization is also helping there. A lot of developers, testers, architects, designers, operations, so on and so forth. And then there are always these senior leadership roles. Even in an agile organization, you needed, the agile center of excellence, the compliance teams, the project management office teams, middle managers, CEO, CIO. These are all senior leadership roles which are needed for an agile organization. So that's a little glance about what are the various roles available for agile organizations. Okay. And we are talking about CSM, a Certified Scrum Master workshop next week. And for those people who are interested, who are registering, who are already registered. So one of the key things for you to look at is the Scrum Master. They will be ready to become a Scrum Master, to play a Scrum Master role in their teams and organizations. And eventually, when you start helping with several other multiple teams, you probably are looking to become an agile coach, something like that. Okay, that's a little transition out there. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll briefly pause and see if any questions. I know there are a lot of questions. So we'll go with some of them, and then we'll again go towards the end about how do you transition. And I have certain small tips and suggestions, so that would be helpful to all of us. Okay, so I think there is a lot of interest on the exam, on the certification. So let us discuss about that. So the certification is Certified Scrum Master, given by Scrum Alliance, the other logo that I have shown earlier on the screen. And they have been there for about 20-25 years, the largest certification body, the largest community for Scrum. And I have been part of the community for the last 10 years or so, and it's really, really helpful there. So they give this CSM as a credential. And that is available only through a classroom. So you need to attend the CSM workshop. I'm just going to write this here. So this is available only through a classroom. There is no online reading and appearing for the test. So you need to appear for a classroom, either in a physical setting or an online setting, doesn't matter. And it has to be taught by a CST, a Certified Scrum Trainer. So this is what I was introducing myself as before. And this requires a minimum 2 days of class, meaning like 15-16 hours of classroom. And we are doing that over 5 days based upon your requirement, because you're already working somewhere and then you wanted to spend that time in the evening. So kudos to the commitment. And after that 15 hours, 16 hours of workshop, you got to write a test. The test is going to be online, and you shouldn't be worrying about the test, because the classroom workshop is going to be so interactive such that you will be able to give the test right after the workshop. There is no challenges out there. So you don't need to really worry about the test in case whoever is appearing. Yep. And test is not so difficult, but it's not so easy also. So there is some amount of work that is needed, and I'm going to help you with that preparation throughout the 5 days next week. So you are going to spend good quality time with the preparation as well. Okay. Let's check any other questions in terms of the certification.
And Mr. Suresh, while you were talking about the program and the certification, I would just like to repeat, I'm sure there are 50% of the participants of the batch coming on 30th here, at least. So, and I've passed this information to all the participants, but just at the cost of repeating, the videos will be on and the attendance is mandatory. And this is, as Mr. Suresh was saying, these are not requirements enforced at whims and fancies. These are mandatory requirement basis which a trainer would not be in a position to issue you the certificate. The engagement will have to be high because, as you said, the mandatory requirement is teaching. And so you got to be present in even in a digital world today, you got to be present with the camera on, and engagement has to be high. Presence, absence from the sessions on all 5 days, any time would not be acceptable. It's just what I'll mention, and we can always talk offline after the session if any participant had a question on this. Thank you, Mr. Suresh.
Thank you, sir. My pleasure. Because that's what gives us the best possible learning, because you're all investing some time, you're investing your own financial resources. So you should get the best value out of it. So That's where we say video is mandatory, percentage of attendance 100%, and so on and so forth. And that's what the certifying body also mandates. And there are a couple of questions about PMP, Project Management Professional. That is given by PMI, Project Management Institute, again based out of the United States. PMP, I would say, was, sorry for using that past tense, but was a leader for a long time in the industry, because there is no looking back about their guidance in terms of successfully executing projects. Myself, I am a PMP. I'm still a PMP, by the way, for a long time. And now there is a lot of emphasis towards moving into an agile, a flexible way of working. So somewhere, this whole thing has slowly dropped off with respect to PMP, and then more emphasis is on agile, especially Scrum Alliance. Since they have started first, they are early adopters of this whole Scrum and the certification and all that stuff. So Scrum Alliance, CSM has been the most popular event till date. There is one more question by Mr. Jairam about why CSM but not PSM. PSM is another certification on Scrum by another certification body, Professional Scrum Master, and there are different levels about that. So these are some things which came up recently. I'm not undermining their importance. They are equally good, no doubt about that. But since Scrum Alliance has been the early adopter, obviously people ask, okay, do you have a CSM? When you go for an interview, job recruiters, hiring managers, customers, they ask, okay, are you a CSM? Okay, now come on for the interview. So that's a general trend in the industry. There is no underplaying of any certification body in this session. So finally, it is you who need to choose. But if you ask me, I'll say do CSM first, because it's a very basic certification. And two, it's a classroom interaction, and interaction gives more learning than just reading a book and passing a test, which some other certifications say so. Okay. And there is one more question, why CSM and not CSPO? CSPO, Certified Scrum Product Owner, is a Scrum Alliance certification again. By the way, I forgot to mention, CSM is the top 10 certifications in the entire world. Not just Scrum certification, not just Agile certification. You take aerospace, pharma, marketing, manufacturing, construction, any industry, there are medical field, there are several certifications. On all the worldly certifications today, CSM is in top 10 as per a survey. So you can see how popular it is. And CSPO is also gaining popularity. And for people who manage products, they generally do CSPO first. But generally, I recommend doing CSM first, because that covers a whole gamut of what is Agile and Scrum. And then CSPO goes deeper into product-related knowledge. And when you go to CSPO, some of this will be over the head because you haven't really understood what is Agile and what is Scrum. And that is why I suggest CSM first and then go for CSPO, though there is no rule by the certification body. What it is. And inputs on difference between Scrum certification and SAFe Agile certification. Sure, sir. So SAFe is another certification body. There are too many bodies out there. Of course, wherever there is business, obviously, there are more and more competition. So SAFe, Scaled Agile Framework, that is what it is called. And when you want to work in large organizations, you need like 100 people, 200 people developing one enterprise level product or a project. That is where you need to scale up. And that is when you probably will start using something like SAFe. But SAFe is not the only one out there. There are several other frameworks. So it depends on which organization you are actually going to work for. They might use SAFe, they might use XYZ. And somebody was also asking about disciplined agile delivery. You see? So I'm going to write here. So scaling, there you go. So there are several of them. And I can go on and on writing those names. SAFe is the most popular today. Disciplined Agile Delivery is another one. Nexus is one. Scrum at Scale is another one. There are several of them. SAFe is most popular today.
So if you recall, Mr. Suresh, as I told you that for these, since we are, scaling 360 degree without approach, we know all the certification by name, and kind of, probably in a session also when we take the certification program, maybe you could probably talk about half an hour, 1 hour, if it is possible. I don't know whether it's possible or not, because that's our innate need actually. We've been in an environment where we're not connected and there is a need to transition and there is all energy there. But then, it's really going good. I'm sorry to interrupt here.
No problem.
Those comments are very welcoming, Suresh and Captain Vinay, because it's really nice to see the participants aware of different kind of certifications. So that's what brings a smile on my face as well.
Right.
So that's nice to know. Go ahead, Suresh.
Yeah, thank you. So sure, sir. Captain Vinay, I'm going to spend some time, if required, again, during the class on one of the days. We can spend a little bit extra time, and I can get more organized information as well. Today the focus is more on Agile and Scrum. If there is a discussion point about certifications as well, we can do one more session like that as well. No problem.
Thank you so much.
Sure. So I'm going back to our slides here. So how to transition, my bit of little advice and guidance and any help that I can be of in future. So I wanted to just quickly touch upon this. So there are several aspects on how one can transition from one way of working, or in your past work experience, in your military background, versus a new way of working, new experience, new place, new people, new domains, and so on. I know some of them, Sambhav has already taken care of those things, and that's where I said I was very, very glad to see some of those initial presentation details made by Captain Vinay. Upskilling, I think you're already doing it in terms of, any managerial skills, technical skills, the agile skills, any latest trends that we're talking about. Mentorship, I see that is already happening. I made this slide last few days, but today I realized some of this is already there, and this is another wow factor for me, that we are, so much thinking alike.
No, Mr. Suresh, actually it is not there. It is, and that's why neither a skilling agency nor a HR or a recruitment. But I told you the need is so much, and there was so much of dearth of it for no explanation to the reason. That's why we started creating it. But your points are absolutely bang on. I think these are very important, and we've also just started. We're just starting, and I'm sure we'll make it grow a lot. This itself seems like a consulting and a mentoring session in itself, and we can take these also forward. Great. Thank you so much.
Sure. Definitely. My pleasure, sir. And then this is interesting. When you learn something, one good way to learn is start developing those. And I know this requires some upskilling. Some of these are, really dependencies on each other, but we should start thinking about how we can develop our own tool or a framework. And that framework is not a software framework always. It can be a management framework. It can be an operational framework. How do you run a whole security team, for example, in a big company, for example? You can create a framework, and that can help a lot of organizations. And eventually you can make it your own framework as well. So that's just a small thought there. And the fourth one, use Scrum. And this is where I wanted to just come in, because a lot of organizations, a lot of individuals especially, use Scrum for their personal life. Even one big goal that we are talking about is transition now into, say, a corporate role, for example. You can use Scrum to transition. You can have small goals. Rather than thinking big bang, we have a great vision, great idea. But how can you do that in small chunks of work, small cycles? Okay, next 2 weeks, this is my small goal. How do I track it? So Scrum can help you. When you learn Scrum, you will realize that you can do anything using Scrum. And I think that's one small suggestion again from my side. And I can help you in case somebody is interested. I can definitely help you how to use Scrum in your own life. Okay. And then this leveraging whatever you know, whatever you are strong at, whatever is your muscle memory already, I think you should capitalize on those great strengths already. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that very soon. And take help, ask for help from the community. Okay, so the last two boxes, I'm going to elaborate a little bit more. Leverage your strengths. You already know them. Oh, by the way, Scrum, there are 5 values in Scrum, which are something we don't need to really tell you what those are. One of the first ones is commitment. Next, focus. So Scrum is built on some values, 5 values, which are very, very fundamental to all human beings, and especially to all these people, the armed forces, right? You don't need really explanation of all these. Now, how do you focus? Focus on my customer, focus on my goals, focus on my individual goals, focus on my next 2 weeks rather than diluting it for the next 2 months. You see, you can apply focus at multiple levels. Openness, again, keeping the work open, transparent, keeping it open to yourself as well as keeping it open to the rest of the team. You can maintain walls, white walls and storyboards, everything right there open. Respect for individuals, respect for cultures, respect for others' ideas, respect for team members, respect for customers' goals. So what I'm trying to show here are the 5 Scrum values which are already inbuilt in each of us, can be further capitalized in your transition, in your future role that you are going to play. Courage. That's the 5 Scrum values that I just showed. And then similarly, there are other aspects of Scrum, which I'm going to show real quick. And these will be expanded in later, the Certified Scrum Master workshop. But I thought I'll show you a glimpse of that. Again, leverage something called as an empirical process control, which is inbuilt, has been there in the world for the last several years. Though the term seems little new, empiricism is nothing but make decisions based on data. Make decisions based on your experience. You rather than waiting for a big bang result, you experiment for a short cycle of time, maybe a week, and then you observe, collect data, make decisions. When I'm driving, for example, I'm driving towards a restaurant. I was supposed to reach in 5 minutes, but then I'm late. But I know my friend is already waiting there. What do you do if you are in the situation? You're going to make a call. Hey, friend, I'm stuck here. Oh, by the way, how did you reach? Did you go take a different route? Or maybe I'll use Google Maps. This is all about data-driven decision making, and which we all do in our daily lives. And that's what is empiricism. And Scrum is built on the values that we have seen earlier and empiricism. These are certain building blocks of Scrum. So empiricism has 3 pillars. Number 1 is transparency. You make work transparent, you make decisions transparent, you ask people for help, and then you ask for feedback. And that's where we are getting to inspect the results. You do it for 1 week, make it transparent, inspect it, ask for feedback, ask your customer, hey customer, we developed this for you. Is this really working for you? Customer may say, absolutely great, but I want some change. Okay, no problem. We are going to adapt based on the feedback. If you see here, these terms, whatever I'm just throwing here on those images are things which we all know. I think we should leverage that, capitalize on those further. How can we apply them in our real life? In our regular day-to-day life. Just one more section on that. We were showing some of those Scrum values and empiricism and all that stuff. There are certain other practices which you will learn more and more when you get into a class or read a book or something like that. But I thought I'll quickly show you here a few of them. Scrum talks about small teams. And I think you all know this very well, because we work, rather than working in large amount of teams, we work in small teams, small goals. And eventually we reach the larger goal. And there is only one team, the whole team together. And everyone takes collective responsibility, collective ownership. There are no silos. These terms seem to be very similar and familiar to all of you, I'm assuming. These are not new, isn't it? So just capitalize on those learnings and experience, real life experience that you already had. Pair programming is one of the very, very popular practices in Agile. And I think all of you know it, did it before. Just 2 people working together. Servant leadership is another aspect of Agile, especially in Scrum. It's about selfless leadership of teams. I put my teams, my organization's goals ahead of my own individual goals. And that is selfless service. And I don't think I should be talking more about this with all of you. You're like masters in this. And sustainable pace. Oh, we want to do a lot of things, but can we sustain till the end? Oh, you want to go at a pace which can be sustainable, wherein I can do this day in, day out, day in, day out, day after day, sprint after sprint, year after year. So how can I be sustainable? Think about it. Leadership in crisis. Whenever you are in crisis, that's where true leaders are born. So these are some of the things which we have to learn, meaning I have to learn, but for you it's ingrained. So I don't think we needed any special teaching. Time boxing. Again, everything has a time limit. We will plan for, say, 2 weeks, and then we will try to achieve that in 2 weeks, come whatever may. If something is not done, no problem. We are going to end that work there, and we are going to get some feedback and start with a new plan. So that's what is time boxing. So these are some boxes on the screen which you would hear also about in some agile teams and read in agile books. So I thought I'll just give you a quick glimpse of this. Now the other aspect, this is my last slide. The other aspects I would like to bring on is some of the platforms that are available for you to get support. Scrum Alliance, the largest Scrum community. It's a non-profit trade organization based out of the United States. They have several member resources. For example, there are user groups on Scrum Alliance, and you can subscribe to those user groups. You can attend their webinars, their meetups, their conferences. Some of them, or I would say many of them, are free of cost, but since the community has to sustain, there are certain paid events. But in my view, you have to go register for some of them, at least one event in a year. That's my suggestion. I have been with Scrum Alliance for the last 8 to 9 years, and I find it immensely useful. I met some great people, authors, and several non-IT organizational leaders. I conduct conferences my own. So Scrum Alliance is a beautiful platform. I request you to more, explore this. So their website is Madhuri. You can again publish that on the chat, www.scrumalliance.org. And Knowledgehut knows this even better. They have been, the registered providers with, Scrum Alliance, and maybe I'll leave just to talk more about this. But this is one way to connect with a large community across the globe and keep learning on a daily basis. LinkedIn, I see some work is already being done there, some conferences, mentoring happening, but there are several groups on LinkedIn. I think you should subscribe. As you know, this is free of cost, and keep watching LinkedIn, observing, learning, sharing experiences. And one thing I want to talk about here, something called Premier Wednesday. And this is from my organization, Premier Agile. So when I said we also do a lot of community activities, and the face of Premier Agile for community is called Premier Wednesday. We do at least one event in a quarter, free of cost, on Wednesdays. You can visit the website, Premier Agile website, www.premieragile.com. Madhuri, again, you can help with the URL here. So we do a lot of events. We bring international speakers. Again, everything is free of cost, no strings attached. You can register with us, attend those events. It will help you to learn further, ask questions, get mentorship. I do a mentoring program once every month, again, free of cost for my students. And then people join. I do one-on-one mentoring, group mentoring in terms of any questions that they have on Agile and Scrum. So this is an offer, or I would say an idea for me to open up to all of you. If required, you can join one of my mentoring sessions and ask a question anytime. Again, no strings attached. You don't need to join my CSM program. This is not a commercial announcement. I have been doing something like this in the community for the last 10 years or so, and I feel very excited about it. Of course, commercials will happen, and I'm not really talking about that, but I think my more passion is about this community work, and that's what has driven Jasbir and me all the way here. And you can subscribe to some of our events on Premier Wednesday. This is there on the Premier Agile website. And Knowledgehut also does some events, and Jasbir is a better person to talk about that and what kind of support and services. And this is not a one-time conversation. This can go on and on for a long time. And I see Captain Vinay sir and Jasbir, you are already talking about it. And I'm sure this whole partnership and this collaboration can go on for a long time to help several people out there. And Spread Agile is another community that I have started with some of my friends, a couple of other CSTs based out of Hyderabad in India. We are about 3, and then we conduct, again, free events. Again, no commercials attached to this. Anyone can subscribe, anyone can join these events. Once in a month, we have an event. We are supposed to have an event tomorrow from a speaker from the United States. And there is some problem, and he said, can we postpone this to next month? We are going to do one event next month. July, we had one speaker from Canada. Before that, we have some speakers from India. So this is a global platform again. You can join these events if you want to learn more about Agile and Scrum. And I thought this is also exciting. This is not about an existing platform. You can even create your own platform. You can create a user group on Scrum Alliance. You can create your own user group on LinkedIn, and then start getting people and keep it interactive, ask questions, share information, share job postings, share some webinar related information, anything, you can create your own platforms as well. I thought this is something that I could also bring up in this forum. That was my last slide, and we can open for Q&A, more Q&A if you are interested. I'm still here to stay. Okay, so let's check. So there is a Q&A tab, and I have a lot of questions. So we have answered some of them. I'm going not in an order, but I'm going randomly because some of them were answered when we spoke earlier. There is one question from Mr. Raghav. Now, since PMP has included syllabus from Agile, don't you think PMP still has some value? I think, yes, PMP has come up with I think it is reborn this year, 2021. And I have heard they have included a lot of Agile related content. Somebody was also asking about PMI ACP, right? There is a ACP certification from PMI, Project Management Institute, but that didn't really take off well for some reasons. I know some of us are ACPs. I am a PMI ACP myself as well. It's very good from a learning perspective, no doubt about that, because it covers a breadth of things. It doesn't go depth. That's the problem with ACP. It covers Agile and Scrum and Kanban and this and that and so on, so many things. While you look at CSM or a PSM, it covers depth in Scrum. The whole 2 days is on Agile and Scrum. So that's why one reason why ACP hasn't really taken off very well. But the PMP with Agile, I heard this is very good. I haven't really gone through the the learning objectives, but that's very good is what I heard. Okay, Jojo Jacob. Also, could you throw some light on Disciplined Agile again by PMI? Yeah, this is what I was mentioning earlier. PMI has acquired Disciplined Agile, I guess, last year. So Disciplined Agile Delivery by Scott Ambler is another body. They have their own way of working, Agile way of working, of course. And that is to scale up from one team to many teams. And Scott has written several books, published DAD as well, and great work done. Somehow it didn't take off very well. PMI has acquired it, and I am yet to see any real big action on that front. But what I hear is it's a little heavy too. Anything that's coming from PMI is heavy. So that's why people think twice before actually going for it. But the beauty is all of these are built on one thing, and that is called Scrum. Whether you take SAFe or CSM or PSM or ACP or whatever you are talking about, everything is based on Scrum. So if you learn Scrum very well, I think we can excel anywhere. There is another certification body, somebody was asking, Exin Certified Scrum Master or Scrum Certified or something. It's a name. right? So that is also built on Scrum. For everyone, the foundational learning is the same, the Scrum guide. So as long as you are able to learn Scrum, read Scrum guide, get into a classroom or read a book or practice Scrum at home, that's what will help us go further.
So, Mr. Suresh, you can take a glance at the Q&A, and if there is something really unanswered, otherwise I think we're getting a lot of inputs also from participants that kind of most of the questions have been answered, and this is good. Unless you find something from a technical perspective, I wouldn't be very sure. And so maybe you could take a moment to see that. And otherwise, it's been, I need to take classes from you in sense of how to, stitch together a very, very impactful session. And pluck things all the way from what is Agile and the history of it, and where it is applicable to veteran transition to using Agile in Scrum at home, and in a great storytelling format you could cover so many things in this short time. And I am the culprit of this 1 hour 15 minutes I took in the beginning, and we still at only 1 hour 15 minutes. It looks like a whole lot of journey that we've done. And of course we are looking for your the first training program that we're doing in Knowledgehut, where you will be the instructor, and so much more. I think this is just a glimpse. It has been very, very interesting. And often at my sessions, so we of course spoke the other day, right? And we said there will be questions about PMP, and we discussed what all needs to be configured there. And you've taken so much pains to ask me the backgrounds. So there has been some work that has gone, and that is for the participants also. There have been multiple sessions between us, Knowledgehut, and Mr. Suresh also, to understand the construct, how to create this program. And I can share with you, Mr. Jasbir, Mr. Vinay, and Mr. Suresh, and there is no jokes that it is the tail is in Amazon, that if Mr. Vinay Saxena, whatever his name is, the head of Amazon India, nearly the head, if he has to come to Sambhav Kadam, he will undergo a training first, and then he'll be allowed to speak. So in that sense, we had just one touch point broadly, and this has been such a wonderful session. You've kind of captured the essence entirely, and I'm kind of tempted to attend your training program myself, so that I can gain more points from there. But this is good. This is great. And definitely the entire credit goes to the Knowledgehut. And Mr. Vinay Bhathi was the first touch point at Knowledgehut, and then quickly Mr. Jasbir came in. And there's been that push from the top leadership of Knowledgehut to make this happen. Just for information of our participants, and I'm sure plenty of them would know, that Knowledgehut in itself has been acquired by Upgrad 100%. And the agency that we'll be doing the program with is Zeo Learn, which is again 100% subsidiary of Knowledgehut. And a lot of research has gone in at Knowledgehut. How do we not penalize the participants in terms of monetary, right? Because and we spoke that everybody does all certification, not necessarily all of them may be useful. All certificates may be good, but our point or our focus, the way we go for it may not be the rightest. Why waste a lot of money? And then at Sambhav Kadam, we definitely decimate the prices. We have bad name in the industry for that already, and then we're gaining more and more notoriety over there. So a lot of research went in between Knowledgehut, us, and the trainers, that how do we work this out? So this is a solution that we worked out. The US entity would figure this out on the transactional terms, and that's 100% owned by Knowledgehut. And Knowledgehut would have 100% ownership of the program. And Mr. Suresh, they brought the best in the industry for us to be delivered. You already had a glimpse, and more to come when we join the program together. There are very few seats available, and then we can, with our understanding of a trainer, this is a veteran platform, we can stretch a bit, maybe in a day or two, but we need to be agile on that. And not, I don't know whether Scrum is applicable here, but we definitely need to be agile in the regular word of agile, and quickly get in touch with us and figure this out. And definitely we'll have more programs, so nothing to panic. There would be programs in future, and we'll figure this out for you. Sure. And with that, over to the organizers, Mr. Jasbir, and our trainer, Mr. Suresh.
Thank you, Captain Vinay. Thank you, Suresh. I'm going to give Suresh a breather. He's been on and at this event, so thanks a ton, Suresh. Could have been possible without your support. And Suresh is very passionate about being able to support the community, just like Knowledgehut. So the first time we had a chat about this, he was like, this is great. This is our moment to give it back to the community. And he was very excited right from day one. So thank you, Suresh, for supporting us. Knowledgehut has the same values, and I think it has been a great evening Captain Vinay, thank you for giving us the opportunity. Overall, I think we are super excited to be able to deliver the first experience for Sambhav Kadam veterans. Suresh, myself, and the entire management team are very passionate about what we do. You must have sensed that in all the meetings, right from the prep meetings to the execution. And we believe we've got a very strong opportunity ahead of us. Based on what questions I'm seeing in the Q&A box, the chat, I'm really excited about what we have ahead of us as a journey. And overall, our vision is to be a lifelong learning partner for all the professionals in the industry. And we're very excited to be able to serve that. So looking forward to it.
Sure.
Suresh, over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah, you said my words, some of them. This has been a real great opportunity for me. I've been working with several other aspects of the community, but I think this aspect of the community is absolutely great. And when I was going through some of the preparation, generally I spend about 3-4 hours for each class. And this workshop, I realized I went about 3 times. General overall class is about 20 hours of delivery plus the preparation. For this, I have spent like 60-70 hours. I felt, oh, what am I doing here? Then I realized, okay, now this is top notch, and this is the place that I need to spend a good amount of good quality time. And I'm still not very happy because I'm not able to answer many questions out there. So here is my proposal, Captain Vinay, sir. If somebody can get me these questions as a list, I can also try to categorize some of them, and then answer and email back the responses so that it could be useful for people who would like to read, because I know I have not satisfied everyone who asked a question, but it's already 7:40 here. So you'd like to call it a day, but thank you so much. And I would say this is just the beginning.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone here. And Mr. Suresh, I believe you would be the host. If you could make me the host, maybe there's some veterans who would like to ask me something after you people have logged off. And this is like, I wouldn't call it, say a word of thanks here, because I think this is just the beginning. And absolutely excited myself, and looking at the kind of dynamics we are, talking about. This can be great for a lot of veterans. And at Sambhav Kadam, we could facilitate a lot more. So thank you so much, our organizers, Mr. Jasbir, Mr. Suresh, Mr. Vinay, Ms. Deepti, Ms. Madhuri, and Ms. Shruti, and of course, Mr. Samir was there. I believe he's probably not here right now. But thank you. Thanks all of you. It's been a fantastic evening. Thank you so much. Sure. I'm the host, and I always walk off the last in my sessions, but let the guests walk out first, and then I'll probably, if there are veterans who want to stay back and talk to me, I'll be happy to talk with them. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone.
So we'll take your leave, Captain Vinay. Thanks a lot.
Sure, Captain. We'll reconnect tomorrow. Thank you, guys.
Jai Hind.
Thank you. Bye.